do expedite it with MDC, but this will be fairly quick in this sense. Although President Dillon said, "Oh, we got all the time in the world now." Yeah. No, I don't mind doing it.
It's right here.
On.
Turn it.
Okay. Awesome.
Keith, can you go to the podium, please? Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the Metropolitan Development Commission meeting of June 15th, 2022. I'd be honored today to have Keith lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance for his outstanding efforts recently for our staff. Would all rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you for your hard work. Members of the commission, previously supplied to you have been the minutes from the June 1st meeting that came out to you on Thursday. Are there any additions or deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Hackett. Do I have a second?
Brun, second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, they pass.
I recuse myself. I wasn't here.
Thank you. They pass. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait a minute, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 with 1 recusal. Thank you. Sorry for my slow math. Nancy, can you read the resolutions into the minutes?
Yes, thank you, President Dillon. Resolution number 2022E021 for public hearing confirms a declaratory resolution approving an economic development plan for the King Co Economic Development Area and declaring an area in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana as an allocation area to be known as the King Co Allocation Area for purposes of allocating and distributing property taxes pursuant to Section 26 of the Redevelopment Act. Resolution number 2022E022 authorizes a pledge of tax increment from the King Co Allocation Area to the payment of certain economic development revenue bonds for the Motel Hotel project. Resolution number 2022E025 for public hearing confirms a declaratory resolution approving an economic development plan for the Chartiers Real Street Economic Development Area and declaring an area in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana as an allocation area to be known as the Chartiers Real Street Allocation Area for purposes of allocating and distributing property taxes pursuant to Section 26 of the Redevelopment Act. Resolution number 2022E026 authorizes a pledge of tax increment from the Chartiers Real Street Allocation Area to the payment of certain economic development revenue bonds for the Chartiers Real Street project. Resolution number 2022E029 authorizes the director to enter into an amendment of the interlocal cooperation agreement with IHA to extend the maturity date of the loan from December 31st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023. Resolution number 2022-E030 authorizes the expenditure of $250,000 in funds from the Consolidated Redevelopment Allocation Area Program funds and authorizes the director to enter into an interlocal agreement with IHA to provide financial support to assist IHA in the hiring of temporary maintenance workers to address outstanding work orders. Resolution number 2022-A022 for public hearing authorizes a final economic revitalization area for the Gershman Partners located at approximately 6407 and 6419 Ferguson Street, Council District 2, Washington Township. Recommends approval of 10 years real property tax abatement. This ends the reading of the resolutions.
Thank you, Nancy. And on behalf of all the commission members, we are thrilled you're back. We missed you.
Thank you, I missed you too.
In front of us, we have resolution number 2022-E022, resolution number 2022-E026, 2022-E029, and 2022-E030. Those resolutions we can take as a whole, but I will note, and I want to thank the DMD for quickly responding to the needs to assist IHA. I look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. You have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. They pass 7-0. We'll now take our first public hearing. Resolution number 2022-E021 confirms a declaratory resolution approving an economic development plan and for the King Cole Economic Development Area and declaring an area in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana, as an allocation area to be known as the King Cole Allocation Area for the purpose of allocating and distributing property taxes pursuant to Section 26 of the Redevelopment Act. Staff, do you have a comment on this?
Well, President Dillon, members of the Commission, my name is Rusty Carr. I serve as Deputy Director for DMD, and staff recommends approval of this project. This has been something we've been working on for quite a long time. It's the redevelopment of the former King Cole building at the intersection of Washington and Meridian into the Motto Hotel, which will be an amazing transformation and a great use for the building. So, ask for your support.
Hold on, Deputy Commissioner. Any questions for Rusty? Is there anyone else in attendance today who'd like to comment on this resolution? Seeing none, Commissioner Blackburn, I'll accept the motion to approve.
So moved.
Commissioner Bruns, can I get a second?
Second.
I'll call the roll. Blackburn.
Blackburn, yes.
Bruns.
Bruns, yes.
Hackett.
Hackett, yes.
Robinson.
Robinson, yes.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yes.
Westrick. Dillon is a yes. It passes 7-0. Our second resolution for public hearing is resolution number 2022-E025. It confirms a declaratory resolution approving an economic development plan for the Shorty's Real Street Economic Development Area and declaring an area of the city of Indianapolis, Indiana as an allocation area to be known as Shorty's Real Estate Allocation Area for purposes of allocating and distributing property taxes pursuant to Section 26 of the Redevelopment Act. Deputy Commissioner.
Yes, sir. Again, Rusty Carr, Deputy Director for DMD. Staff also recommends approval of this project. This supports a really nice redevelopment of former Shorty's Golf Course, and what the city's money is going towards is making the road a safe place to be. And so that is a very important thing that we've been working on with our partners at DPW and with the mayor's office support, certainly, and also adds a critical connection to the Monon Trail and a public park. So very excited to recommend approval.
Questions for Rusty? Seeing none, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to comment on this resolution? Seeing none, Commissioner Hackett, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Robinson, can I get a second?
Second.
Let me call the roll. Blackburn.
Blackburn, aye.
Bruns.
Bruns, yes.
Hackett.
Hackett, yes.
Robinson.
Robinson, yes.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yes.
Westrick.
Westrick, yes.
Dillon is a yes. It also passes 7-0. Our last resolution for public hearing is resolution number 2022A-022, authorizes a final economic revitalization area for the Gershman Partners located at approximately 6407, 6419 Ferguson Street, Council District Number 2 in Washington Township. It recommends the approval of a 10-year real property tax abatement. Deputy Commissioner, comments?
Yes, sir. Again, Rusty Carr. Staff recommends approval here. Again, this is a really nice redevelopment in Broad Ripple, adding very high-quality office to the district, and again, I think reflects something that we're seeing a lot, which is this flight to quality and experience in terms of office development. So excited to have staff recommend approval here.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in attendance today who would like to comment on this resolution? Seeing none. Commissioner Robinson, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Schumacher, can I get a second?
Second.
Let me call the roll. Blackburn.
Blackburn, yes.
Bruns.
Bruns, yes.
Hackett.
Hackett, yes.
Robinson.
Robinson, yes.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yes.
Westrick.
Westrick, yes.
Dillon is a yes. It also passes 7-0. That brings to the conclusion our resolutions for today. Moving forward, are there any continuances, special requests, withdrawals that want to come before the board? Counselor.
Yes, President Dillon, Commissioners Misha Rabinowitz, an attorney with offices at 1 Indiana Square, Suite 1800. I'm here on petition number
2021 ZON 149.
ZON 149, 6729 Westfield Boulevard. Thank you. Yes, on behalf of the petitioners, after careful consideration, the petitioners have decided to withdraw this petition and ask that you acknowledge that.
Counselor, thank you for coming forward. It is so acknowledged and withdrawn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving forward, do we have any other continuances, withdrawals, special requests?
President Dillon, staff would draw your attention to 3 petitions. Under petitions of no appeals, the 3 need to be continued to the July 6th hearing pending receipt of commitments. And the first one being 2022 ZON 030, located at 11700 and 11850 East 38th Street and 4002 North Carroll Road. And this would take a motion and a vote.
Thank you. Commissioner Schumacher, can I get a motion to continue 2022 ZON 030 to the July 6, 2002 meeting? Kathleen, is that right?
That is correct.
So moved.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Westrick, can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. I'll call the roll. Blackburn.
Blackburn, yes.
Bruns.
Bruns, yes.
Garver. Up. Hackett.
Hackett, yes.
Robinson.
Robinson, yes.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yes.
Westrick.
Westrick, yes.
Dillon is a yes. It's been continued 7-0 to July 6, 2002. Kathleen, you have another one.
Yes, I do. Thank you. 2022 ZON 055, located at 4501 North Dearborn Street. And again, that needs to be continued to the July 6th hearing.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Westrick, can I get a motion to continue 2022 ZON 055 to the July 6, 2022 meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Blackburn, can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. I'll call the roll. Blackburn.
Blackburn, yes.
Bruns.
Bruns, yes.
Hackett.
Hackett, yes.
Robinson.
Robinson, yes.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yes.
Westrick.
Westrick, yes.
Dillon is a yes. It's continued 7-0 to the July 6, 2022 meeting. Kathleen, you got one more?
Yes, I do. 2022 ZON 058, located at 722 East County Line Road and 8808 Shelby Street. And that would be continued to the July 6th hearing.
Thank you. Commissioner Bruns, can I get a motion to continue 2022 ZON 058?
Bruns, so moved.
Commissioner Hackett, can I get a second?
Second.
Let me call the roll. Blackburn.
Blackburn, yes.
Bruns.
Bruns, yes.
Hackett.
Hackett, yes.
Robinson.
Robinson, yes.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yes.
Westrick.
Westrick, yes.
Dillon is a yes. Passes 7-0 and is also continued to July 6th. Any other continuance special request?
Mr. President, the petitioner, in this case at 2022 ZON 024, located at 2657 and 2737 South Ritter Avenue and 5500 East Troy Avenue, ran into some trouble on their way in. They could not make it, so staff's going to be making the request for them to continue their public hearing to the July 6th hearing.
And you're for this?
Yes.
Thank you. We have before us 2022 ZON 024, request to move a continuance to July 6th of 2022. Commissioner Hackett, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Robinson, can I get a second?
Second.
Let me call the roll. Blackburn.
Blackburn, yes.
Bruns.
Bruns, yes.
Hackett.
Hackett, yes.
Robinson.
Robinson, yes.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yes.
Westrick.
Westrick, yes.
Dillon is a yes. It's continued 7-0 to July 6, 2022. Are there any other continuances?
Yes, President Dillon, members of the commission, one last continuance, and it's the first petition under petitions for public hearing is 2022 VAR 001, located at 4822 East Edgewood Avenue and 5820 South Emerson Avenue. The reason for this continuance is that it is affiliated and connected to a rezoning from 2021, and that rezoning was continued to the July 6th. So in order to reconnect this variance with the rezoning, it will need to be continued to that same date and be heard along with the rezoning.
Thank you. And July 6th is becoming a popular date.
I know it is, yes.
Members of the commission, we have before us 2022 VAR 001. Commissioner Schumacher, can I get a motion to move this to July 6, 2022?
So moved.
Commissioner Westrick, can I get a second?
Second.
Let me call the roll. Blackburn.
Blackburn, yes.
Bruns.
Bruns, yes.
Hackett.
Hackett, yes.
Robinson.
Robinson, yes.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yes.
Westrick.
Westrick, yes.
Excuse me.
Westrick, yes.
Dillon is a yes. It moves to July 6, 2022, 7-0. Are there any other special requests, continuances? Seeing none. Nancy, would you read our first hearing into the record and have the petitioners come forward to be sworn in?
Excuse me, President Dillon, do we not want to do the no appeals docket?
See, that's why we need you. That is why we need you here.
To remind you, that's okay.
Nancy, can you read the docket of no appeals into the record?
Thank you, President Dillon. Petitions of no appeals. Petitions recommended for approval are 2022 ZON 050 at 5145 and 5155 South Meridian Street, Perry Township, Council District 23. 2022 ZON 061 at 5940 Kopetsky Drive, Perry Township, Council District 20, and 2022 CZN 825 at 6379 North College Avenue, Washington Township, Council District 2. This ends the reading of the no appeals docket.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioner Blackburn, can I have a motion to approve 2022 ZON 050, 2022 ZON 061, and 2022 CZN 825?
I move approval.
Thank you. Commissioner Bruns, can I get a second?
Bruns, second.
Let me call the roll. Blackburn.
Blackburn, yes.
Bruns.
Bruns, yes.
Hackett.
Hackett, yes.
Robinson.
Robinson, yes.
Schumacher.
Schumacher, yes.
Westrick.
Westrick, yes.
Dillon is a yes. The petitions of no appeals have passed 7-0. Nancy, I'll try it again. Let's read into the record the first public hearing.
Yes, President Dillon, our first and I believe only public hearing is rezoning petition scheduled for initial hearing 2022 ZON 016 at 859 West 96th Street, approximate address Washington Township, Council District 2, TMK Design LLC by Brian Munch, requesting a rezoning of 11.64 acres from the DSFFFW district to the DPFFFW district to provide for 7 single-family estate lots. Will all those intending to testify on this petition this afternoon, either for or against, please stand now and raise your right hand to be sworn in, to identify yourselves. Tell us all. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? Say I do. Thank you.
Counselor, welcome. Rules of engagement. The petitioner has 15 minutes to present. I'll then go to, it looked like a remonstrator is here. You have 15 minutes to present your case. We'll then go to staff. I'll come back to the petitioner for a rebuttal, and then I'll end with the remonstrators for a 5-minute rebuttal. 5 minutes rebuttal if you would like to use it. You're on the shot clock. Go.
Thank you, President Dillon, members of the commission. Joe Calderon, 11 South Meridian, Indianapolis, representing the petitioner TMK Design LLC in connection with this planned unit development located at 859 West 96th Street. With me today is Tom Kretz, TMK, and Brian Munch, the engineer who originally filed. I was hired a little bit later in the process to kind of work with Northside Community Council to finalize commitments and the DP statement, and I'm pleased to report that we were able to reach agreement with them, as well as Tamarack Owners Association to the west and Tall Timbers, which surrounds the property to the south of this location. So, as Nancy read, this is 11.64 acres, currently zoned DS, which allows 1-acre lots, and we're proposing a DP to provide for 7 estate type of lots. So you never hear that anymore, 7 lots on 11 acres. Think about that for a minute. So we meet the acreage requirements and the density requirements for DS, so why are we seeking a DP? I'll go into it in a moment, but the simple fact is that this property is accessed from a private drive that's long existed on 96th Street, and it doesn't have the requisite frontage on a public road. So we think it's conducive for this type of private development. Each of you should have hard copies of the PowerPoint that I'm displaying. You can see the property outlined in black. The dark line, the yellow line kind of at the top is 96th Street. You can see barely the driveway that extends into the property, which is just to the south. Tamarack is to the west. Pine Drive is to the east, as well as Tall Timbers to the south. You can see lots of trees that are existing. The good news is my client's already gone to the trouble and expense of hiring an arborist who's identified all the heritage trees, and we have put in probably the most comprehensive tree preservation commitment that I've ever written in advance of a public hearing. So most of these trees that are heritage trees, 8 inches or greater, and all the ones in the floodplain are going to stay. So this is going to remain a very pristine site. So what about the zoning? This zoning, as mentioned, is DS, which is dwelling suburban category. The comprehensive plan is suburban residential, which includes very low density to low to medium density housing. Tamarack subdivision is essentially a condominium development that's zone DP. There is D2 to the east, and Carmel, of course, is across 96th Street to the north. So our proposal will be very consistent with the existing zoning. Just to take a 1,000-foot view of DS versus DP, as mentioned, DS is 1-acre lots, 150-foot lot width, 75-foot street frontage, 15 and 35-foot side yards, 35 being the combination of both side yards, 25-foot front yards, 25-foot rear yards, and 1,200 minimum square feet for homes. What we're proposing are 1.25 acre lots. We're fronting on a private drive, 20-foot front setback, minimum 10 and 20 side yards, 80-foot minimum lot width, and minimum 3,000 square feet for homes. That does not include garages, porches, unfinished basements. Our site plan, we're very proud of. This puts 7 lots on the 11 plus acres, plus we've carved out a common area near the creek, Williams Creek, of over 2 acres. We are continuing to access the development via the existing private drive. We've entered into agreements with our neighbors to upgrade that drive so that it functions better, although it will not be built and dedicated to public street standards, which is exactly what the neighbors want. We are going to provide additional landscaping along the access drive to provide some additional buffering both to our neighbors to the west and to the east. We are re-engineering the access drive to address drainage concerns that were expressed. We will have enough room on the access drive so that cars can pass each other, be 20-foot minimum pavement width, and we are going to relocate the common mailbox area serving our neighbors to the south at Tall Timbers. This is what the site plan looks like. You can see to the left kind of the driveway as it comes in off of 96, ultimately coming into the parcel in question, and then there are 7 lots created and then the common area along Williams Creek. We have put in a commitment that every single one of these lots will be at least 1.25 acres. You can kind of see kind of by the parcel configuration why we're seeking DP versus DS. One of the issues that we worked with in terms of your planning staff was to make sure that we were cognizant of the environmental condition of the property being in an environmentally sensitive overlay. And what Mr. Bunch has provided is a cut sheet kind of showing how the property relates to Williams Creek. You can see that on this slide and in the handout and where it's located. We've put in a commitment, by the way, that we are going to be completely compliant with your stream protection corridor requirements. In a nutshell, that means we can't build any closer than 100 feet to the creek, to the top of the bank of the creek. There may be some common area amenities, some of which, all of which are permitted under the stream protection corridor requirements. So we are going to maintain the pristine nature of this site as it relates to Williams Creek. One of the neat things about a plan unit development is that the creativity can come out. In this case, Mr. Kretz is proposing a Pacific Northwest theme. All the homes are to be built by one builder, Brad Bowman, who has been a dream home builder in the past. There are going to be private covenants with an architectural review board. Mr. Kretz will control that. Added bonus, because of the nature of the site, and this is in your commitments and was the staff recommendation in your packet, is that any time we develop a lot, not only does it have to go on the private side through Mr. Kretz, and we put in commitments about tree preservation and building pads, but also staff will approve those site plans and tree preservation plans administratively. So there's double layer protection to make sure that what we tell you today comes out when building permit time comes down the road. This is kind of the idea with some of the cut sheets from the marketing brochure. You can see the revised entry, the thematic vision of the house type, etc. Here are some images of kind of the theme in terms of home construction of what you might expect. It's frankly unique and beautiful and appropriate for this particular location given its vistas. We don't have all the mountains in the background, but we do have some pretty vistas in this area. Continuing on the next slide with some additional renderings of home styles. So one of the things that I was able to do was engage on behalf of Mr. Kretz before Nora Northside, since I've appeared before them many times over the years. But even before I got involved, Mr. Kretz had been involved with a number of the folks at Tamarack and his neighbors at Tall Timbers. There was a flurry of letters in support of this that came in yesterday and overnight. Even before I got this case, there was a letter of intent signed between Mr. Kretz and Tamarack that talked about reciprocal easements, drainage, landscaping, etc. We put a number of those items in our commitments. Same with Tall Timbers, moving the mailbox, common mailbox, adding extra landscaping. Those are the issues that were important to those folks. Those are in our commitments. Nora Northside was particularly concerned about tree preservation and the stream protection corridor. Added those items to the commitments. And kind of similar comments from staff in terms of the environmental sensitivity, along with just kind of cleaning up the DP statement. So all the result of that is that the four major groups that we engaged with are now supportive of this development. So this is the way the DP process should work, and you should be comfortable knowing that. Our commitments include, as previously mentioned, that all of our development will comply with the stream protection corridor requirements. We talked a little bit about the access drive enhancements, our minimum lot size of 1.25 acres, minimum home size, 3,000 square feet, not including garages, porches, unfinished attics, or unfinished basements, CC&Rs and Architectural Review Committee, tree preservation commitment. The commitments are attached to your packet and stamped. I won't read it verbatim. If you look at commitment number 8, you can see that there is a significant tree preservation commitment, all based upon Mr. Kretz's foresight to go ahead before he brought this to you to have an arborist go out, identify trees. He's absolutely been a man that has kept his word on that, and I think that certainly helped us as we work through this with the various neighborhood organizations. And then finally, we added the staff commitment regarding administrative approval of lot development, both site and tree preservation plans when it comes time to improvement location permits. Your staff report is recommending approval, subject to the commitment that we've put in. They've concluded that we are in compliance with the comprehensive plan. Certainly, we believe that they support our ability to meet the environmentally sensitive overlay portion of the comprehensive plan. And then finally, we meet the purposes of what a DP or a plan unit development district is. We've got many, many natural features that we're taking great care and additional expense to preserve. As mentioned, our support list includes Nora Northside, Tamarack, Tall Timbers, and your staff. So we're very pleased to come in, and we understand that there was at least one letter not in support of this, and that's fine, and I'm not sure if the person here wrote that letter or not, but we believe that we've done really all the heavy lifting to make your decision as easy as possible today. Again, in summary, 7 lots on over 11 acres. Incredibly low density. It's a beautiful setting that you're going to have a beautiful neighborhood. We've put in very high standards in both our DP statement and our commitments. We're preserving many of the natural features. Stream protection corridor, tree preservation are top of mind. We're consistent with the comp plan, and we've been engaging to a point where we feel very comfortable coming before you today with very little remonstrance, and we hope that those efforts are awarded with a recommendation for approval today.
Questions for the petitioner? Counselor, I have a couple. Anybody else have any? Okay. So the pond in Tamarack, which is below grade of your neighborhood, that doesn't come into play at all in drainage. It's fine. It's right there.
Right, kind of the, it would be the east corner. Tom, do you want to address that, or Brian, you want to address that? Brian Munch, our engineer, probably
Great.
better suited to address your question. President
Thank you.
Dillon.
Thank you, sir. The pond in question.
Please introduce
Oh,
yourself,
sorry.
sir.
Brian Munch, Munch Engineering, offices at 4000 Clarks Creek Road, Plainfield, Indiana.
Go ahead.
The particular pond in question, Mr. Chairman, is the pond to the west of our main drive coming in. We have taken great care to direct the runoff that comes down that main drive into our property. We have been in discussions with the neighbors of Tamarack. They have hired their own professional consultation. They hired another engineer that we're working in conjunction with to make sure that we do keep our drainage on our property and adhere to the drainage ordinance and moving forward. So it does not come into play except for the fact we recognize it and we are directing our drainage onto our property.
Thank you very much. Counselor, what's the value of a lot from a market standpoint?
For the projected sales prices
Yes,
for each
sir.
lot, we'll have Mr. Kretz answer that, the owner.
Good afternoon, councilors. My name is Tom Kretz. I am the owner of 859 West 96th Street. My current address is 7921 Kimlow Drive, Indianapolis. The basic lot the first lot in California is going to list at $599, and the two lots to the south of that will be $699, $699, which is Oregon and Washington.
Those are southeast, Tom, if I'm thinking right.
Southwest, the southwest lots.
What lot's southeast?
The southeast lot is Utah, that will be $640, and then there are three lots above that, which are Colorado, Montana, and Wyoming. Those are, well, one of them is mine, which is the Colorado lot, so I'm going to retain ownership of that. The other two will be $980.
Got it. I thought your layout actually played to the topography of the land, and although your attorney was bragging about it being more than 100 feet from Williams Creek, I don't think you could get it any closer, really, from where you probably was unbuildable down in there, wasn't it?
Right. There's a floodplain area that's about 35 feet lower than the bluff. There's
Right.
a large bluff where we've kind of orchestrated all the lots and all the building sites above that. Then you've got a really nice 35-foot drop, and then a floodplain area which used to be fruit trees at one point in time, which has since been removed by the previous owner, which is what follows along Williams Creek there.
The land actually plays into your 7 lots perfectly, really.
We couldn't have asked for a better spot. Yeah,
Right.
we have a
Okay.
really nice dry creek, which we're going to build a concrete arch bridge above, and the road we kind of curve the road through and around the trees to kind of give it a more natural setting and kind of bring in that Pacific Northwest feel.
Okay, final questions for the petitioner? Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Counselor, stand fast. We'll be back to you.
Thank you.
Remonstrators, would you like to come forward? Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself and your address. And is Madam in the pink, are you going to be speaking as well?
Yes.
Were you sworn in, madam? I didn't see you stand.
Yeah, she wasn't sworn in yet.
Nancy, can you swear her in, please?
Yes, we can do it now.
Yes.
Please, do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? Say, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, please introduce yourself and your address.
My name is Brianne Samudio, and my address is 857 West 96th Street. So I'm in the lot neighboring the proposed development.
To the, which direction?
So it would be northeast, I think. Am I doing that right? Well, yeah. I'm
Got it.
immediately adjacent to the creek. So that bluff that was shown is like right next to my house, like it's in the neighboring lot.
Got it. Thank you.
So, yeah, thanks. As I mentioned, I live at 857 West 96th Street. I have a few concerns I'd just like to share. I've attended the last two Nora Northside Community Council meetings regarding the matter, and because our property definitely pertains to this project because it's right next door. At the first meeting, some of the things the committee was asking for were not present, commitments, drawings, things like that. At the second meeting, a lot of that information, some of it was presented, but there were a few things that were promised by the petitioner and his attorney in order to get a vote not to oppose the development or the rezoning. And in my perception, at least one of these items has not yet been complied with, specifically the communication with the neighbors. Mr. Kretz's attorney mentioned tall timbers and tamarack, that they had communicated extensively with them. My house is, so when you enter into the proposed area, our house is, there are 7 homes. 3 of them are part of tall timbers. 4 of them are not. Mine is one that is not. And so we're not part of a neighborhood association, an HOA, anything like that. At one point in the NCC meeting, we were raising these concerns, and it was cited that Mr. Kretz had been in communication with one of our neighbors named Leo Stens, and that he had been reaching these agreements with him on behalf of our neighborhood. We have never been consulted as far as whether or not Mr. Stens is our representative. He's not communicated to us. He's a very busy man. It, quite frankly, is not his responsibility to do that. So we don't know a lot of the proposals, and the communication it just has been, in my opinion, not as present as it probably could be. I went back and retraced the communication in which Mr. Kretz has reached out to me individually or to a group of us. I have an email from March of, and this is in the last about year or so. I have an email from March of 2022 before his initial MDC rezoning hearing, citing past ongoing communication. There wasn't a lot of past ongoing communication prior to that. An email stating that some individuals from DNR and Army Corps of Engineers might be walking around on the bank. He did let me know about that, I think the day before they came, and looking at the erosion. And in the same email, it was addressing some concern my husband had of burning some brush. He addressed that issue. We had another email regarding a tree he was taking down, and that one of my UPS packages had ended up on his property mistakenly. And then I was copied on an email to a neighbor that was raising questions about a deed restriction on the property, which, quite frankly, the tone was fairly berating, and a quote from the email, it was an unnecessary waste of everyone's time. And then the last was an email to several individuals in the neighboring community of Tamarack. And basically, he copied me on it, implying that I was directing delivery trucks to access his private road and access their neighborhood, and they were going through the landscaping. I obviously did not do that. So to me, the communication has just been something I've been a little disappointed with. Let's see. Last night I had not received, I assumed after the last NCC meeting that we would then be copied on some additional communication prior to this hearing. I hadn't received anything as of last night. I reached out to Ruth Hayes, the president of the NCC, to see if the commitments that, the additional premise that they were going to vote not to oppose was that they received an additional, some changing to the wording of the commitments. So I reached out to her to see if they had received those. They had. She was very confused as to why I wouldn't have received them, as I was sure to provide my email address at the meeting. She did send them to me. And then in addition to these things, I mean, obviously the road access, the current road is 10 feet. My understanding, just from conversations with others from Tamarack, is that the 20-foot road won't be done until the homes are completed or near completion or something to that effect. I have a concern about construction vehicles getting back there. Most people, when they come in, mistakenly end up in my driveway. The private road that accesses our house is dead ends in my driveway. And this is whether they're looking at the lot or, sometimes it's, state employees or things like that. They end up in my driveway, and most of them end up just cutting across. I mean, even people just looking at the lot. My driveway can't handle dump trucks and things like that cutting across constantly, and it's impossible for them to back up there at that point also, because it's a one-lane road coming into my driveway. And then the last thing I just want to mention, the wildlife in this area is amazing. 7 homes will drastically affect it. I do feel what is being marketed will not be present anymore when this is done, because there are 7 homes that'll be in a small area. Everything from bald eagles to fox to deer to blue heron to, red-tailed hawks and coyotes, beavers, muskrat, all of that, they'll all be affected. So I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Please introduce yourself.
I will. My name is Judith Palmer. I live at 9440 Tamarack Drive, Indianapolis 46260. I'm a resident of Spring Mill Lakes at Tamarack, which is often short nicknamed Tamarack, but Tamarack 17 are houses at the front of the development, which are bordering 91st Street. I've lived in the development of condominiums, Spring Mill Lakes at Tamarack, for more than 30 years. I'm here today really just to clarify some protocol and procedural points. Mr. Kretz's attorney did state correctly that our board had signed, our president of our board had signed a letter of intent to formulate an agreement based on our concerns about drainage, based on our concerns about some landscaping, some protection for the residents at Spring Mill Lakes at Tamarack, which will adjoin the road that needs to be constructed to access the homes. That proposal, that letter of intent, was taken to our residents, and it was approved by a significant majority. The board has stated, and our president, I believe in his letter to you, his name is Courtney Weldon, indicated that the agreement itself would not be signed until we had our engineer review the stormwater runoff issue to make sure that what we were seeing and agreeing to and the city's requirements would meet, would provide protection for our residents. Last night, Mrs. Zamudio provided me with a copy of the commitments. I attended the first NORA hearing and spoke and recounted where we were in the process. And I was out of state for the second hearing, so I was catching up, and Mrs. Zamudio shared with me the commitments that she received last night from Ruth Hayes. I forwarded those this morning to our board president to see if he had reviewed those, if he had seen them, if he had forwarded them to our attorney who crafted our agreement, because even though I'm a law graduate, I'm retired from practice, and I wanted to see if there was, I couldn't find any incorporation by reference into these commitments about our proposed agreement that will be signed based upon what our engineer says to us. And he said he hadn't seen it, and he was not coming to the meeting, but he did tell me about the letter that he had submitted to you. So at this point, we do not have the engineering plans, and we have not had a review of the commitment agreement because our board president had not seen it, and I just received it last night and provided it to him. So my last communication with him was at 11 o'clock this morning, and actually I've been at a symphony luncheon. I apologize for being a little late, but ISO was having a luncheon. And I don't know, Tom, if you or your engineer have supplied those documents yet to American Structure.
Judith, we'll ask.
I know they received something earlier that they
Judith,
said was not sufficient.
We'll ask the question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's
I was just showing a courtesy. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other remonstrators? Okay, Judith, stay close, would you please, both of you? Yes, please. Staff, who's handling this one?
I am. Thank you.
Kathleen?
Thank you, President Dillon, members of the Commission. As Mr. Cauldron has indicated, staff is recommending approval of this. It is consistent with a comprehensive plan that recommends a suburban neighborhood. The density is a little bit lower than you typically find in a suburban neighborhood typology. However, given the stream protection corridor and the trees on the site, the lower density is appropriate. And for that reason, staff believes this is an appropriate request and is supporting that. As Mr. Cauldron indicated, there are a couple of items staff was concerned about: the stream protection corridor and the tree preservation, and they have. Thank you. I appreciate them accommodating staff's request. That's in the commitments number 9. The staff was requesting that the administrator approval be made for each lot that is developed. Very simple. Staff is recommending approval of this and would be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Commission, for staff? Seeing none. Counselor? Oh, you got somebody? Please.
Yes. I want to ask, what do you respond directly to the concerns of Ms. Palmer?
Her concerns related to
the drainage problems.
Drainage into Tamarack.
Process problems.
Yes. That's handled. Again, that is not something that planning staff looks at, but that is through the permitting process, and there will be that drainage will be reviewed by engineers during the permitting process. And apparently they have engaged another engineer to get through this. With the permitting process. The other thing staff would mention is that Williams Creek, at least the floodway, it has the jurisdiction of the Department of Natural Resources, and so they will also be looking at the drainage and the development as this.
And the tree removal?
Yes, well, and that's something staff will be looking at very closely. Yes. And like Mr. Cauldron indicated, which is very unusual, they have already submitted the tree preservation plan, and there were a total of 636 trees were inventoried. That included 177 heritage trees. The plan recommended that a total of 137 heritage trees be preserved during the site development, and staff will be looking at the tree preservation plan as it was submitted as they review the development of each of those parcels. So staff, again, is concerned, and their concerns have been addressed by allowing us to look at that when they develop each of those lots.
Could I ask of the developer about tree preservation? In my experience, sometimes tree removal is already executed before you talk about tree preservation. Would you comment?
On tree removal?
Tree preservation.
Yes.
Why don't you put that in your rebuttal, Counselor?
I can.
We'll start the clock.
Do you want to
at
start
5
that
minutes.
now?
You're on.
Okay. Let's address Commissioner Blackburn's concerns first. We do actually have a commitment in terms of drainage. It's commitment 4A, and that specifically talks about the drainage coming off the access road being directed to and through our property. I did not incorporate the letter of intent with Tamarack. I didn't draft the letter of intent, another council did. That is a private agreement and should remain such because there are reciprocal easements and things that really are beyond the scope of zoning. What I did was summarize the things that would be normally before you as a zoning body or a plan commission that decides zoning cases. And Ms. Blackburn, if you look at commitment number 8, it is the most comprehensive tree preservation commitment I've ever drafted. We've incorporated our tree inventory and summary report. We've incorporated a commitment that we will design our home building pads with the greatest respect for trees, as well as subdivision features. So both the home building process and the development process will be part of a commitment that puts tree preservation first. There have been invasive honeysuckles that have been removed in conjunction with communication with the folks from Tamarack. So we think, and in my experience, this is the most comprehensive upfront tree preservation plan and commitment that I've ever seen. Most of the time we're saying, yeah, we'll do one and submit it for administrative approval before we pull permits. Here we've already done that, so we know how to do our home building pads and how to design our other features, because he's actually going to be living there at the same time. So hopefully that addresses your concern about tree preservation versus removal and the timing of such.
Thank you.
Did you have a follow-up question? Okay. As far as the other owner, and I'm sorry I didn't get her name down correctly, we had been advised that Mr. Stenz was kind of the liaison for the remainder of the neighbors, and he submitted a letter confirming agreement. My apologies if we were supposed to have individual conversations. Beyond that, the fact of the matter is we did incorporate all the commitments that we discussed at the NORA meeting, understood about anytime you have a system of private drives, somebody may make a mistake. We will have signage, not only during construction, but as part of our DP statement, we put in our planned signage for directing traffic, both as you enter the drive off of 96th Street and as you get to kind of the top of the hill. So we hope to mitigate any concerns. As far as wildlife is concerned, we're going to take the utmost care. We're not really doing anything in the floodway whatsoever. Again, this property is zoned to be developed, not to remain undeveloped. We're not going from parkland to development land. This is already zone DS, which allows essentially 1 acre lots, and we exceed that. We just can't meet all the DS standards because we access from a private drive, as it should be in this case. So we think our plan is about as solid as you're going to find. We understand the importance of the area up there, both environmentally and from a neighbor perspective. My client is going to live there and be the best neighbor that he can be, and we've put everything that we can to assure you as a plan commission and our neighbors in writing in either our DP statement or our commitments, and we hope that you can recommend approval today. Did you want to add anything, Tom? Or are you good?
Questions for the petitioner? Joe, I ended up in her driveway myself when I came out to walk it again. So is that a commitment you're going to make on the signage? And can we put that in there,
It's in the DP statement.
Can we put that in big highlights, please? Thank you very much.
We put that in the DP statement itself, President.
And let's go back to what my friend Judith and I are worried about, which is my original question. I understand clearly that drainage is a permit issue, but I want to make sure, I mean, to an amateur who eyeballs the site, I would have to agree with Judith that I would have my antenna up on drainage. So I know you know how this works, and I know Tamarack's hired their own engineer, but I think that's a legitimate, important point that
Absolutely.
we're not. Okay.
We understand that. We put in a drainage commitment. Obviously, the final hydrology study hasn't been done, but plans are being shared between the engineers. That's all part of the reciprocal easement agreement that will be entered into privately between TMK and the HOA for Tamarack.
So, Tom and Counselor, I have your word that we're going to be working with Tamarack on drainage.
Absolutely.
And I have your
A
word.
whole host of other issues.
We're going to try to keep people out of Madam's driveway here, including myself.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Judith, you have 5 minutes if you'd like further comments, or your colleague.
I'm not here to dispute Mr. Kretz or his counsel's intention. I'm just concerned that we have been waiting for weeks, if not months, to see the final drawings and the engineering plans so that our engineer can review what the storm water runoff will amount to make sure that what they're planning to do will address concerns that our neighbors directly adjacent to his area will experience. It's really a timing problem. If approval is given today, how do we come back when we're not really part of the commitments? How do we then come back if the drainage problem isn't to our satisfaction when we actually have plans to review? And I just got a message from our president, again, that I asked him, am I correct that we have not seen the drawings that our engineer has to have in order to opine on the drainage? And he said he's not aware that we have received them.
Judy, let me answer that question for you. Today is the zoning vote, but as was stated by Kathleen, and you do have an opportunity to comment on the drainage, and that is during the permit process as before they start the final construction. So Kathleen will keep them in tune when the permits are filed to make sure that they have their comments. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And if the neighbors want to contact me, and they do have the contact information, I can put them in touch with those that are reviewing them down at the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services.
Would you please do that?
Yes.
So today, and you and I are tracking together on this because I know the site, but today is not the drainage issue.
Right.
Today is the zoning issue, and you get another bite at the apple on drainage on the permit situation.
I guess my second point would be, since we have not had an opportunity as a board, our lawyer hasn't had an opportunity to review the commitments because we hadn't seen them, whether there are elements of our agreement that would be appropriate to include in that list of commitments, which would then track in the future with the land, as I understand it, in spite of what a homeowners association would eventually decide to do. Because we had things like landscaping involved, we had temporary fencing to prevent any access to our road during construction because there's a very narrow space of dirt literally between what will be the road carrying construction traffic and our property road. And we have people
My
who walk
problem
that.
is, Judy, that we've got a letter from your president saying we're good to go.
Well, except we haven't seen the engineering plans.
I understand that.
Yeah, that's what his letter stated, as he explained it to me.
Understand. Counselor, Joe?
Yes, sir.
I do want your commitment. We'll sit with them and go through the engineering plan and work through it. I sense you all, Tom, you want to be good neighbors, do you not? Yes, absolutely. So, Joe's never let me down,
No,
Judy,
of
on his
course we
word,
will.
so I think that he'll keep his
Of course
word.
it will. There's absolutely, all the framework for that is already signed by both parties. Mr. Munch is responsible for final engineering plans. He'll work with Structure Point. I will personally make sure that the parties do what they need to do so that we don't contradict ourselves between that process and today's process.
Thank you, Counselor. Judy, I believe Joe will follow up with you, and you don't remember me, but
Oh, I do.
I congratulate you. You beat me up over the legislature pretty good a couple of times. I think you were the CFO of IU, were you not?
I was.
I
yes,
remember that.
Yes,
and
in addition to budget director, so.
You're a Sharpie, and I appreciate it. And
Well, thank
I think
you.
these gentlemen will keep their word to you.
Well, and I will say, Mr. Kretz has hired a new attorney now from the one that drafted our intent. So I have not met you before. So we will, through our president, I'm just a board member and a resident, but we'll follow this process and watch for the stream pollution, stream control, and we'll review the plans when we get them.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
All righty.
And maybe we should both go back to the legislature, do you think?
I took my beating, Judy. I'm done. Thank you. All right. Any final comments, Kathleen?
Thank you, President Dillon. Staff has no further comments.
All right. I would ask members of the commission, go to your ballots in your blue folder. And in your ballots, it says 2022 ZON 016 TMK Design LLC. Please sign and mark your ballot, your vote. And Nancy, please pick those ballots up.
Twenty 2022 ZON 016 TMK Design LLC. 7 ballots were cast. All were yes votes, no votes. This petition has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Counselor, I obviously hold Judy's opinion in high regard. Make sure we follow up.
Understood.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Tom, do a good job on this now. All righty. That brings our agenda to a conclusion. Seeing no other business, may I have a motion to dismiss?
So moved.
Thank you, Bridget. All those in favor? Aye. Have a nice day. Stay out of the heat.